Hello. So, I hope you guys are all well, and these strange times aren't affecting you too much. Yesterday, Sir Tom Moore, Captain Tom, he passed away. That was a really sad. That was a really sad thing to see on the telly. Obviously, over 100,000 people now passed with COVID, and every death affects someone, doesn't it? It touches a family. It removes someone from their family's life. And I guess we can almost become desensitized to the reality of what that means. That person is no longer with them in the physical sense, those conversations, the cup of tea or coffee, that can no longer be shared. And when you think of 100,000 people, that's like our biggest football stadium and then some, completely full, absolutely completely full. And all of those people are no longer here because of that awful disease. And you kind of think to yourself, this gentleman was 100 years old. He was 99 years old when, he had this idea that he would raise money. £1,000 was his, grand target. And, right at the start, that must have seemed like quite a lot of money. And it is a lot of money. And something captured the hearts of the nation and the world. There's this gentleman using his walking frame, and he wanted to do something for someone else. There's the really important part of this. And his selfless nature and his determination to make a difference in what is and was a very difficult time, that kind of sparked something within us, didn't it? I know it certainly did for me. And, just watching what he did and the difference he made. And, for those of you in the UK that listen or watch this, he raised nearly £33 million. That's a colossal amount of money. And that came from people all around the world. They were all captivated, by something about Sir Tom's, his wish, his determination to make a difference. And doesn't it show how no matter where we're from, we're all connected. Fundamentally, there was a spark within us that reacted to that positive intention, that reacted to that loving intention, that willingness to do something for his fellow man and fellow woman. And it transcends race, it transcends religion, it transcends every form of barrier that we kind of perceive in the world around us. And, I think his legacy will live on for a very, very long time. Sir Tom that's a name and a phrase that I think will be very much ingrained in our memory and in our hearts. And kind of our hearts and our mediumship and our spirituality, our development, isn't that really what this is all about? When we speak about developing ourselves, developing mediumship, becoming technically more proficient. But ultimately, isn't it about our developing our spiritual nature, our loving nature, our recognizing that we are fundamentally the same as each other? No matter what language we speak, no matter where we live and which God we believe in, if any, fundamentally we are loving people. And when we lose someone, whether it be Captain Tom or, anyone, absolutely every death is a painful moment. Absolutely it is. Doesn't it really kind of show us that what we do as mediums and our motivation for working in this environment, in this, I don't know, sphere of understanding, doesn't it bring it home to you that we have a tremendous responsibility? We really do. And, when someone books themselves in for a reading or an assessment, I personally really feel that pressure. Not because I want to perform in the sense of, look at me, I'm amazing. And that isn't how I think at all. But it's recognizing there is a need. There is a need from that person, whether it's clarification or clarity on what their mediumistic potential is, or whether it's a yearning and a need, a real desire to know whether their loved ones are aware of their life. They could have a child or a partner, a husband, a wife, a friend, whoever it is, could have passed, and that grief can affect us deeply. And I'm not immune to that. I'm acutely aware that there's a tremendous responsibility with what we do. And I think when people are looking to explore and work on their mediumistic development to become technically more proficient and to become better at whatever the task is, whether it's a reading, whether it's working on trance and altered states, whether it's as a healer, whether it's as a physical medium or as an artist, or whatever your vocation is, whatever your love is, your passion, isn't it also really important to develop our spirituality? Not in the religious sense, but in the sense of, am I improving myself as a person? Am I trying to cultivate kindness and tolerance and acceptance and compassion, not only for our friends, but for those that we don't agree with? Our decisions ultimately rest on our shoulders. What we say and what we do and what we encourage and what we accept and what we propagate, they are our choices. So if you have a friend that says unkind things about another person, do you go along with that? Do you propagate that thought, that feeling, that energy? Or do you kind of look at yourself and say, okay, that is your thought and your opinion, but maybe rather than ignoring it, maybe say to them, it's not maybe the kindest, thing that you've said. And maybe you don't understand all aspects of the other person's position. And so shouldn't we try to cultivate more understanding, more compassion, more patience, more tolerance? That's an everlasting task, I think. None of us are perfect. This life, this physical presence that we have, it's one of learning a little bit about ourselves. Acknowledging the faults. I have plenty. I really do. And sometimes we don't like to acknowledge them. We don't like to be too self-critical on ourselves. But sometimes we need to be. We need to kind of have a check and balance and think, could I have dealt with that situation better? Should I have said something? Should I have not said something? And you kind of think to yourself, if only I had all the answers at the start, I could avoid making the mistakes. But I guess as we make the mistakes, we learn something about ourselves and other people. And as we go down this journey, on this journey, we change. We do change. What we find acceptable at the start of the journey starts to change as we become more conscious of our effects on the people around us, and how what we say and do affects those around us. As we observe the behavior and the judgment and the way that people react to us, we start to change something within us. I find changes, and we gravitate more towards different people, and we find ourselves not wanting to spend as much time with other people, because there comes a time, I think, when your energy just doesn't resonate. Your vibration just doesn't say to you, this is a person I want to spend time with. And you change as a person. And that can be difficult for the person involved, and also with yourself, because you don't want to necessarily consciously move away from them. But you find that there's something within you that just isn't resonating, that is kind of telling you to move away, that they don't enhance your life or your relationship with them. So that can be a difficult point to acknowledge and to accept. So what do you do? I think you have to acknowledge that as you grow, you change, and your outlooks and your thoughts and your opinions and the way that you see life changes. Now, you don't have to disown a person because you don't agree with them any longer. It's their life is their journey, and our life is our journey. I think it's one of acceptance that things change, and so I don't think there has to be a big, big drama about things. So, what motivates you to do what you're doing? Do you explore the mediumistic path because you want to be a well-known name? Is it purely a financial decision, or is it an inner calling? Did mediumship discover you more than you discovered mediumship? Was it a conscious effort? So kind of ask yourself, why do you do it? I think when we answer, I think it's almost like a soul's calling. You find an aspect of yourself that had been dormant. And when the time is right in your life, I do think that you discover or you become conscious of what you need to be conscious of at the right time. I kind of think our guides, our inspirers, those that work on the spirit side, I do think that they have an awareness of when the right time for us to develop is. Now, I don't think they would try to control our development, but I think they try to present situations in which maybe our path might become kind of illuminated, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And you suddenly sort of have this realization that I get it. Now I understand why these synchronicities, these situations have arisen in my life, because there is a need. There is almost like a calling in a way. I'm not sure if that's the right way of phrasing it really, but how do you know it's right? Like I've said many times before, because it feels right. It feels that you're not swimming against the tide. You're really going with the flow of the energy of how your life seems to be going. And I do think when we allow ourselves to naturally unfold our awareness, I really think it will serve us better if we try to break down the walls and the barriers in front of us before they're ready to come down. I think it can just force the situation. Maybe that's not correct, but it's just kind of how I feel inside. That's my intuition says that is the case. I just feel that sometimes we have to be patient. We have to allow those situations to arise and to kind of allow our awareness, allow those seeds of understanding to mature at the right time and to bear fruit at the right time. And I think anything in life is kind of subject to the same old analogy that it happens when it's meant to. And that can be frustrating. It really can. I certainly am guilty of trying to make, stuff happen before it was meant to. But that is the learning. That was the learning, and it probably will always be that case. And so I think there's kind of food for thought there, really, that be aware of what motivates you to be on this path. It's not about keeping up with the Joneses. It's not about being better than someone that you want to be in competition with. It's about healing. And it's about healing yourself first, understanding where your flaws are, where you need to work on yourself. Think of the way that you want to be in the future. Maybe visualize what type of person you want to be. And then think about the areas that you fall down in, so that maybe you recognize that you want to be more patient. So you need to cultivate patience. You need to cultivate compassion or understanding or patience or tolerance or whatever the case may be. Kind of have an aspiration. What type of person do I want to be? And become a much more spiritually minded person. And I think it will have a definite positive impact upon your mediumship. You are different to everyone else in the whole world. And thank goodness, you are unique. And your abilities, your awareness, your needs are unique to you. So really be mindful that if someone disagrees with your journey, that's fine, because this is your journey. That is their journey. Their learning and their experience is personal to them. So I kind of ran off there, because it didn't, don't need to labour the point too much. But I think it is really important to think about why we do what we do. What do we wish to get out of it? And what are we willing to give, and what are we willing to sacrifice in the sense of our awareness and being mindful of where we need to improve as a person. So I guess it comes back to maybe the very Buddhist philosophy of loving kindness, and that our purpose is, in many ways, is to become more loving, more kind, is to have compassion for everyone, your friends, your enemies, everyone in between. So I'm going to leave it there, and I will hopefully see you guys soon. And it's been a pleasure just to share a little bit of time with you and share a few thoughts. So I hope you look after yourself well. And if you want to get in contact with me, you can do on Andrew Codling Medium, or on Facebook, or andrewcodling.com, my website. Catch you guys soon. Take care.